captain of all three. So
We're
yes.
going to talk about football before you go.
Okay, sounds great.
Right.
I love football.
Yes,
So
sir. Yes, sir.
all right.
Man, that is impressive.
Well, thank you. Thank
All
you.
right.
Yeah, I joined the police department in March 16th, 1988. And this coming March will be 36 years on the police
Wow.
department.
That's
So it's
awesome.
been such a blessing. I've been chief for three. Was appointed in November 2020, so I'm working on my fourth year. And it's been just a blessing to be able to serve the
Yes,
city
sir.
I grew up in.
Yes, sir. When you were growing up, is being a law enforcement officer or a policeman or whomever, was that always in your game plan?
No, it wasn't. I grew up kind of different. I didn't view law enforcement in a respectful manner. It's almost like you never saw the good parts of what we do and what we do today.
Right.
When they would come to the school, they would put handcuffs. Hey, kids
Yeah.
like that stuff, and I thought it was fun. But put handcuffs on you and all of that, and I never realized that year after year, not every year, but I get picked to get handcuffs put on me, and I
Okay.
and I never looked around, but I was like,
Probably they knew you was on the wrestling team, the football team.
And so I grew up with kind of an opinion of the police, and I never wanted to be one. In fact, when we played cops and robbers, I always wanted to be the bad guy because I just didn't like the police. That changed after high school. I started thinking a little bit more about how we can make a difference, how we can make an impact. And I had a relative that put in for the police department. He was like, "Hey, you
Yeah.
want to join? And we can do some good stuff and really make a difference."
Right.
In fact, in high school, I had members of the Metro Nashville Police Department come and they were at my high school, and I thought it was college recruiters for
Okay.
football.
Right.
But they were investigating a very brutal crime, and they had this picture of this male black, and they were like, "Hey, this looks just like you," and I was like, "No, it doesn't." And the
Right.
only thing that looked similar, we were both black.
Wow.
Right. Right.
When they apprehended him, he was some 15 years older.
Wow.
And what saved me is that they had a fingerprint that could either convict me or exonerate me, and the rest is history. I remember them talking to me about how if they didn't have this fingerprint, they could make this circumstantial case. And I was nervous. I was a nervous wreck. I mean, I got pulled out of high school and taken down to juvenile detention when it was at the old Howard School building. And so I didn't have a favorable opinion, but I've since I've been chief, I've tried to make sure that we engage the community,
Right.
that we're transparent, and I think we're showing a very different police department than when I
Right.
grew
And,
up.
and speaking of such, approximately how many members or officers do you have?
So we're right now about 1570. We're about 170 short. This time last year we were about 210. So we're making an impact. When I first took over as chief, I was signing anywhere between 3 to sometimes 8, 9 resignations a week, and I was thinking we're not going to have a police department if we continue down this path. And so we've done some good things to make sure officers know that they're valued, that we've given them some things that I think helps them, a good uniform, a pay raise, and just some things to make them feel good about themselves.
We want to talk more about recruiting, Brother Mayor.
Yeah, when I was on the Metro Council, that was always an issue, and recruiting was always an issue, especially recruiting those persons who were from the urban center. It seemed like even as when I say more professionalized, more police officers were coming in with 2-year degrees and 4-year degrees, and there's a big presence that would go to the different colleges and universities, encouraging college graduates or college students to apply to the police. And we were trying to get them to TSU, and it seemed like there was a culture difference that the people at TSU kind of, like you said, looked at the police kind of different. We were like, no, this is a great career. The benefits, the salary, upward mobility, all of those things. And so on the council, we're trying to get people from TSU to apply for jobs. This is before Drake became the chief. But we were trying. I remember him going in the community trying to recruit all the time. I remember him at the IMF meetings all the time, talking about. You remember those days going to IMF
And we're
meetings?
going to recruit today. What's,
Yeah,
what's the
recruit. So
requirements?
what are the requirements?
So we like for you to have a college degree, but it's no longer a requirement. So you can graduate from high school. You can have 5 years of continued employment that's continued. So 5 years of good employment, no breaks. You can have a military career if you're coming out of the military. If you have 60 hours, that's ideal. You don't have to have a degree. So we've lessened the standard of admittance to get people in, but then we've changed our training academy so we can get more people through the ranks as well. And We're growing as a police department. We
How
really are.
diverse are you as far as women and other
So,
minorities?
I was one of the first chiefs to sign the 30 by 30 initiative. That's to have 30% female by the year 2030. And so we've gone from about 8%, right around 15% now. Continues to grow. We had a graduating class of that was 40% female at one time. I'm also pushing for more minorities too, and I would like to say it in this crime plan that I'm writing that I want at least 30% minority by 2032. So that's going to be something that we openly talk about because it resonates with people. I tell our recruiters all the time, let's go visit athletic teams. Let's visit football teams, basketball teams. Let's visit HBCUs, and let's do all of this, and let's recruit. And it's people that see me and people like me, they want to be a part of that. And so I've promoted a very diverse group of supervisors from women to minorities to you name it, and it's resonating with people. And I think it's going to have a big impact in years to come.
Crime. Let's talk about crime, brother man.
Well,
We're going to up it down.
when we talk about crime, it is not just a police department issue. It is education, it's housing, it's healthcare, it's all of those things. When you're dealing with poverty, when you're dealing with all these social ills, how do you, as a police department, knowing that you cannot control schools, you cannot control whether churches do their job and whether parents are doing their, so how are you being proactive to make sure that we prevent crime as opposed to just responding to it?
That's a very good question. So to answer the first part is that violent crime was down for the year. It was down 1.7% of violent crime. Commercial robbery was down 30%. Uh, uh, Street robbery was down 17%. Aggravated assaults was down. Homicide was down. Our biggest driver was motor vehicle theft. And so how we do that is to partner with all of these entities. We partner with schools. We have routine conversations with Dr. Battle and her team. We have routine conversations with members of the clergy community. And we have different segments of the community. I just had a communication with a advocacy group yesterday about how they can partner with us in dealing with young women that we're seeing getting in trouble now. We're seeing a rise in women that are involved in violent crime. And so when you look at crime, you look at the core root of the problem, and that's going to be part. And I hope, Ernie, you have me on in about 3-4 months or so
You
we
got
can
an
talk
open
about
invitation. Come anytime you like.
my crime plan. But
Yes, sir.
the whole theme behind it is core problem solving policing. So look at the core of the problem. What is driving it? Is it poverty? Is it lack of education? Is it the household? And then who do we get involved to help those that are getting in trouble? And it's all about partnerships and collaborations. And that's what we've done. We're just going to expand on it even more as we move forward.
Ernie, can I ask this? So I'm real close with Darren Hall. I've known Darren Hall for 30 years. He said if you come to the county jail and you look at those who are illiterate or read at a lower grade level, you match that to those who are inside. There's a high percentage of those who do not read at a 10th grade level. They're either illiterate or partially illiterate, and illiteracy drives a lot too. Who is unfortunately in the justice system.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with that. And we have these concepts that the federal government has enacted. One was No Child Left Behind, and it just accelerated education, and everyone doesn't learn at the same level. And so what happens when those kids get behind? Do they start acting out? Do they get in trouble and then their literacy levels don't rise? I applaud Dr. Battle. I applaud her and what she's doing, and the school systems are getting better. Literacy is key. I have a grandson, and we're teaching him how to read. He's 5 years old, and just want to make sure that he has every chance in life. And it's going to take all of us working together. And that is a theme that we see. People that are getting incarcerated and getting in trouble, you look at literacy, and there's a gap there.
Our guest is Metro Police Chief John Drake. We're live on our Let's Talk page and on YouTube. Go to 92Q Nashville if you have a question or a comment for our guest. So let's have some questions for the chief. And let's go to Ebony. Who we have on line one?
You have Miss Jackie. 1 second.
All right.
There you go.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. How are you?
Hello,
Doing good.
good. How are you?
This is Miss Jackson.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I'm getting all these phone calls and they blowing up my Facebook page. and my Twitter and my what's it called. These old people of age and some young people want to know what Let's Talk. They like the idea. You can call in to Let's Talk. They said that's to urge them to vote, let them know the information on the vote. Some people.
You can still call in. Do you have a question for the chief? We're listening to you live on the Let's Talk page and on YouTube.
Are you listening to me now?
Yes.
What I'm saying, I understand that, but older people, mature people, and a lot of teenagers, they're not gonna get on YouTube to listen to.
All
Let's
right.
Talk.
Well, we're hoping that we can expand our audience, and of course, one way of doing that is reaching out. Thank you so much, Miss Jackie. We know we love you and appreciate you. We're live on the Let's Talk page. We're on YouTube, 92Q Nashville. So if you do have a question or for the chief or a comment in regards to crime and safety, then of course we want to hear from you. In fact, Eric he has a question that says, is that just for Davidson County where you don't need a college degree to be on the police staff, or is it for the entire state of Tennessee, Chief?
Well, it's just for our police department. That's what I'm speaking to. For the state of Tennessee, they have different requirements. It just depends on the agency. I would say most agencies are not requiring a 4-year degree now. There may be some, like the TBI and others, that do actually ask for that. But that is our standard. It used to be that you have to have 60 hours of college to be able to apply. We've reduced that now where you can have a high school degree or a GED as long as you have 5 years of continued good employment. For instance, you can't say I've worked from 2018, took a break in 2020, and now I'm back. You can't. You have to have 5 good years. So that's how, the difference that we've made in that. And to the other caller, Miss Jackie, if you have any other questions for the police department at all, feel free to reach out to my office and 615-862-7301, and we'll be more than happy to talk to you about anything.
All right, 615-862-7301. Our guest is Metro Police Chief John Drake, Brother Maynard.
Chief Jake, I have always wanted to ask you this question, and I want to put you on the spot. So here's my opportunity.
Right.
When your DA says, I'm not going to be prosecuting these types of either misdemeanors or these types of maybe against the law, but he feels like it's a waste of resources to put people behind bars, how does that then impact your policy and what you tell your officers to do if the DA is saying, I'm not going to prosecute those type of crimes? And I'm not putting you on the spot, but you know what I'm saying. How do you then deal with that when the DA says, I'm sorry, somebody have a joint in their hand, I'm not prosecuting that? So how do the police then adjust to that?
Yeah, so, when I first heard that, I cringed, and I was, but all I can do is what we can do as a police department, and we're going to enforce the laws as they're written in the books, whether the district attorney says he's going to prosecute or not. And one of those is marijuana. And what we're seeing now in most of our robberies, and especially the drug robberies, marijuana is prevalent and present. And at our homicide scenes, marijuana is present. And so we want to make sure that when they say we're not going to prosecute for, say, marijuana, that we have to really look at that. And if he doesn't want to prosecute it, it's fine. But we're not going to tell officers not to make an arrest. So if they want to dismiss the case, I would think it's a great opportunity to have people in and to talk about drug treatment and how they can help certain people. Because in my opinion, marijuana is a gateway drug to far more serious crimes. And what we're starting to see now with marijuana is they're starting to be laced with fentanyl. Fentanyl is
Right.
big, and people being overdosed. And I just my thing is, hey, don't use any illicit drugs. And but we have a decent partnership with the district attorney. It's just we don't see eye to eye when it comes to him saying he's not going to prosecute certain crimes.
And Tennessee's lawmakers recently passed a law that joined 19 other states in regards to weapons, handguns.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, you do no longer need a permit.
It's
And when
tragic.
there was a time when you got stopped for running a red light or a stop sign, the officer would say, do you have any drugs or weapons in the car? How are the officers now dealing with the fact that you do no longer need a gun permit?
You don't answer that. You stop people for the crime that they've committed, whether it's a traffic offense or whether it's some type of misdemeanor or felony crime, and you ask for the driver's license. We train to be mindful of the situation when you walk up to a car, when you walk up to a house, what could possibly happen. People have the right to have weapons now. I'm not anti-gun. I don't disagree with anti-gun. I am a person that believes in being responsible, and leaving guns in vehicles is the unintended consequence that we're seeing now. Guns are being stolen out of cars because everyone's carrying them. Violent crime is. We see more gunshot incidents. I can't tell you the last time I heard of a fight. Everything is a gun battle of some
Right.
type, and
Especially road rage.
yeah, we're starting to see more of those now, and it's tragic. We had a family that was shot at just last week, driving on I-40. Individual in a Dodge Ram truck with a white bumper fired shots at the vehicle. No one was injured, but just a few years ago on Christmas Day, there was an individual that had dropped his grandmother off and was headed back home Christmas morning, and was shot and killed in a road rage incident, and we still haven't been able to solve that crime yet.
But can I say this? I've got my Republican friends, my conservative friends who are former members of the NRA have given back their NRA cards because of the NRA stance that there shouldn't be permits and training. Every hunter wants someone to have a license because you out there hunting, you don't want anybody who can go out there and get a rifle and there's no background checks. There's no training required. You don't have to have any specific training and safety. And so everyone now can get a weapon. I'm a former military. I tell you all the time, there's nothing to play with. And then you have stand your ground laws. Stand your ground laws allows me to shoot you if I think. It used to be the law is I could only use the force to defend myself that's been used against me. So if you got a knife, I can only use a knife. If you don't have a weapon, I couldn't use a weapon. But now we could take a weapon out, a gun, shoot somebody because we thought they may provide violence to us, even though they have not provided violence. And the NRA has taken us down a road where now all these states, the number one cause of death for our children in America is guns. Gun
Why
violence.
are so many people leaving their guns in the car?
Just being irresponsible. First, they're allowed to carry them, so they're more prevalent, and then when they go into like bars and other places, they just leave them in the vehicles, and it's just it's irresponsible. And we're seeing more and more kids get these guns now. 10 years old, it's not uncommon for a 10, 11, or 12-year-old to have guns now because of this, and I just disagree. I think when you have weapons, you should train. You should know how to use it because that's how you prevent accidental discharges. That's how you prevent accidentally shooting someone, and really knowing what a gun could actually do to people. And it's I think when we take that away, then we're harming our community even more.
What about politicians always talk about they're for law and order? And then when we ask the chiefs of police across the nation, should we have background checks? Should we have reasonable regulation on the Second Amendment? They all say yes. Every police chief says yes, except for the crazy ones that are, in certain states. But
Yeah.
but the majority of them say, yeah, you need background to protect police. So if you support law and order, you don't want everybody and their mama to have a gun, especially if they have psychological problems, behavioral problems. Now, I think the Supreme Court is deciding, Ernie, and maybe chief of police can address this. There was a time that if a woman got a restraining order against a man, he could then had to give up his weapon in some states. Well, the Supreme Court is thinking about striking that law down. That even if she gets a restraining order against her husband or her mate or whatever, that when the court then gives the restraining order, they say, hey, you need to give up your gun until we get this all fixed and straightened out.
But not just the state of Tennessee. 19 other states have signed on to this.
Yeah. This is the country, and it's been proven. I was the first male captain ever assigned to domestic violence in the Metro Nashville Police Department, and whenever there's a gun present in domestic incidents, it's used or could be used, and so it's very much likely a tool that's going to harm someone. It could kill someone, and so when you have the orders of protection, they had a civil order to give up those weapons. You're not supposed to have them. You're not supposed to be able to purchase weapons. It's hard for me to talk about federal legislation, but I hope they don't go down that road because now, just like when they said it's okay for everyone to carry a weapon, now it's going to be okay whether you're assaulting someone or not. You can still carry a weapon, and it's only going to make it more dangerous.
The key word is to stay relevant, and of course, be vigilant. New precincts. Any plans?
So absolutely, we were hoping to have the ninth precinct in Antioch open by the second half of this year, but we had some delays because we wanted to make it more community friendly. It was too dark. The brick was dark. We're making it lighter color. We're putting glass on it. We're putting it where people. What I'm hoping is when the community comes by the precinct, they sit out there on the tables and have lunch and interact with officers, and it's their precinct as well. So by the first part of 2025, we should be having officers inside of that precinct, and it's exciting. It's a state-of-the-art precinct, too.
Can I get in trouble real quick?
Metro Police Chief John Drake is our guest. Special friend.
Can I get in?
Jerry Maynard.
Can I get in trouble? The headquarters that
Unless he
you
brought his
operate.
handcuffs.
Right. Well, he's got two people over there. I'm scared of them too. Like, I ain't gonna mess with him. Listen,
Right.
the beautiful headquarters that you operate out of every day, that is not a police precinct, is not a jail, is a headquarters. It's beautiful, isn't it?
It is beautiful.
And it could have been on Jefferson Street.
It really could have been, and I really wish
It could have been on Jefferson Street, y'all. We
Yeah.
could have had that. It could have brought economic development. It could have brought stimulus there. We could have had officers who are administrators, people who work in offices, office workers, not a jail, it's not a prison.
There was a vote on.
Yeah,
that measure.
and voted it down because they were lying and saying that it was going to be a jail. And they were putting on Jefferson Street to lock up black folks. And I said, y'all don't even know what a headquarters is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that happened because it really would have been great if we could have put that on Jefferson Street. And it's a headquarters. It's where my office is. It's where professional staff is. It's where we plan all of our stuff. It's not where we take suspects and any of that kind of stuff. People that's been arrested in crime. And it's a beautiful facility. It has a weight room inside.
Speaking of new, let's talk about new technology. What about these license plate readers?
You know, I'm all for license plate readers, and there's been false narratives about that as well. But license plate readers, when I first took over as chief of police in 2020, the community was saying we don't want to be over-policed anymore. And so how do we get in and find people that are committing these crimes without oversaturating and victimizing people in a sense? And so with license plate readers, we're able to determine stolen cars. That's our number one crime right now. It finished 75% up last year was stolen. And this year, January, we're up 132%. Well, what goes with that is stolen weapons. And when you have a stolen car, stolen weapon, then you have murders, homicides, robberies, and et cetera. So it gives us a chance to, one, apprehend that person before they go out and commit robberies and homicides, but it also helps us to find someone that's been run over in a hit and run accident where you have a pedestrian that's been killed. And we have 9 of those, and one's been cleared. 8 are open. We can't clear them. So we want to be able to clear those types of crimes, and it reads a license plate. It doesn't profile anyone. I mean, I live in Davidson County, and I drive all over. Whether I go by Wilson County, Rutherford County, Belle Meade, wherever, you hit a license plate reader. In fact, there's a private business here that has them, and there was a homicide that was committed on their parking lot. And in 2 days, we were able to solve that homicide, which we might not have been able to if it wasn't for that. And so it's a great technology, and just not what people are saying that it profiles. That's not what it does.
No, there was a complaint that stated that they were afraid that the license plate readers would only be put in communities of color.
No, it's going to be a countywide initiative because crime happens everywhere now. It's not just in minority communities. And if you look at the minority community now, and so you go, say, Buchanan, which was historically a minority. Now you have $1 million homes over there, and it's different. Or Trinity Lane, we looked at a home that was $2 million. It's so the
You ever think that Clay Street in Clifton was ever going to look like this?
Never.
It's a new day.
It's a new. Listen, I think the heavens are going to open up. I went on Clay Street and I said Clay Street and Clifton.
Right.
and certain people with midriff shirts walking their dogs. I thought I'd never see that.
It's
Nashville
changed.
is growing.
They gonna kick me off this show. The police I was laughing at. They gonna kick me off this show.
Nashville is growing. We need new officers.
We do.
We need new precincts.
We do. And we're constantly recruiting, and we're going to have 8 classes this year. We're hoping to be fully staffed or as close to fully staffed by the end of this year, which is going to be historic for us. The thing is to keep people in. It's so hard to recruit people now because everyone needs employees, and people that are coming in policing want to work 8 to 5. They don't want to work nights, shift work. They don't want to work weekends. And so we have to be able to make sure we make it attractive. We have to compensate them accordingly and try to give them things that's going to help them. And so we're competing.
I have a bone. I have to tell you, I have a bone to pick with Chief Drake on this and others. When I was on the Metro Council, now hear me out, Ernie. Hear me out. In order to run for Metro Council, I have to live in Davidson County. If I want to serve on the Board of Commission, I have to live in Davidson County. If I want to run for mayor, I got to live in Davidson County. However, if you want to be a police officer, you don't have to live in Davidson County. And so I, along with one of my Republican friends on the Metro Council, offered legislation requiring that police officers and firefighters and teachers all live in Davidson County. And the people came to me and said, we will not be able to recruit if you all pass that law for a mandatory residential requirement.
Is that still the same?
It's still the same. You can live outside of Davidson County. In fact, about 50% of our police department lives outside of Davidson County. I live in the county. But in all fairness, and we have to give officers some type of stipend, of public safety workers, firemen included, some type of stipend to have housing here. When you look at the prices of homes, and I was looking to move from where I was. I looked at a home, it was around $800,000. It wound up selling for 1.3 because some family from California didn't care what they were going to pay cash.
They just needed the home.
You can't compete with that, and on an officer's salary, trying to live in Davidson County can be difficult, and so we have to be able to help them.
I'm all for. I want to stand on the record. I'm all for providing a stipend to teachers, to first responders, to public service workers, to incentivize them to live in Davidson County. But I do believe that if you serve this community, you should live in this community. You should eat, work, and play in this community. And so I'm a big advocate, Ernie, of not going and recruiting people from White House, Tennessee, and all these other places, and bringing in nothing against White House, Tennessee. But our county is the most diverse county in the state of Tennessee. We have more languages spoken in our schools in this community, and we need to make sure that everyone, not just police, firefighters, teachers, and everybody, can appreciate the diversity. And so the way that you appreciate it, you live here. But I do agree with you, Chief Drake. We did not. We pulled the bill. We didn't try to get it passed because the chiefs all came and said, "Listen, until y'all give us some money for housing."
We are live on Let's Talk.
You're right, though, and I live in
YouTube.
Davidson County, so I live what I preach. I live here, but it's difficult.
But they can't drive a car. They cannot drive a Metro Police car outside the county, correct?
They can now. You can go 25 miles outside of the county, and so we allowed that so people can have that incentive. But we'd much rather have them living here if they could. It'd be great.
Metro Police Chief John Drake is our guest live on the Let's Talk page and on YouTube. Go to YouTube 92Q Nashville. And if you have a question or a comment for him, then, of course, you can type in 615-737-9292. All right? And, of course, we want to know what on your mind in regards to safety. Brother Maynard.
So one of the things that I want the chief to address is this. When we first talk about crime and when the politician was talking about defund the police, and it was weaponized politically, what they didn't talk about is we need more resources, social justice, social programs, health care, child care, all that. So it wasn't just defunding, like we was going to get rid of the police, but it was really to say, no, we need to pour resources. I hated that they used the term defund the police. I hated that because I knew they could weaponize it to make it seem like we didn't care about police. Everybody cares about police. Everybody does.
So how did growing up?
Right. So my question to you is, how do we then do, Chief Drake? The intent was we need to provide wraparound services to deal with these social issues, to deal with family issues, to deal with education. How do you then, as the leader of the police force, challenge politicians not to demonize the concept that we need all services so that the police are not put in danger? How do you address that?
So the first thing is most budgets, our police budget is about 91% personnel. And so when you start talking about cutting budgets, then you're talking about laying off police officers. We need more police officers, but then we also need more services. And that's really when you get to my crime plan that we will discuss here in the next few months, it's the core of the problem. And you bring other people into play. Is it education? Is it lack of access? Is it the environment that they live in? And you bring people into play, but you don't eliminate the police. You don't say we don't need you anymore. You partner with those groups and with those entities, and then I think that's how we become more effective. You don't cut the police, and the politicians at first that's what they wanted to do. They wanted to cut the budget, which means we have to lay people off, and we just can't do that. And we need everyone coming together because you imagine like sports, it's a team, and you need all these dynamics to come together to make a good team. When you don't have all those dynamics, and we're not a good team, you just have to figure out how we're going to take care of those other resources
Right.
that's going to partner with us.
More on your crime plan. Felicia Smith wants to know, what are you going to do about the areas that have extreme drug problems?
So what we've talked about in a lot of our crime meetings is looking at to eliminate these areas. One is what's the driver? Is it drugs? Okay, so what do we do with the person that's distributing the drugs? The people that are selling them. Sometimes they're kids. They're bringing in juveniles to sell them because they know they won't get in that much trouble. So how do we affect that? So we engage the community, we engage juveniles, and we find resources that can help them. And then once you go in and hold people accountable for doing these things, then we have to beautify those areas. We need to get rid of the blight, clean up the trash, get rid of the dilapidated buildings, get people that are squatting inside of houses out, get treatment for people that are on drugs first and foremost, because that's a driver. If we're not doing anything with them, we can't arrest our way out of it. So we have to find ways to help them in those communities too. So it's going to be a holistic approach and not just single-handed. It takes the entire community.
Metro Police Chief John Drake. Brother Maynard.
Yeah, another issue that I dealt with is, as you know, Ernie, for 25 years, we've been dealing with homelessness. I served in the homeless committee of those who are unhoused. I got to get the proper right term, unhoused people. And so our church, we did every week. We had our clothing bank and our food bank, and every Saturday we go pick them up. On Sunday, we go to the different places and pick them up. And one of the challenges that we had, that I appreciate Chief Drake's leadership on this, but anytime you had this before he got here, you had a major convention or something, they would round up a lot of the homeless. There were certain areas that they didn't want them to be there, lock them up, and then release them. And we were like, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be another way. And so in dealing with homelessness, that is not a police problem. That is a city problem. And the city has never had a policy to deal with the unhoused.
However,
They
how
made it
is the
private.
police department helping with the homeless?
So one of our three core pillars is community engagement. And when we talked about what can we do in areas where there are the unhoused, then how do we play a part in that? And so I started quality of life teams, and these are teams of 2 to 3 officers in the precincts. And they go out and they develop relationships. They engage the unhoused, and they find out their story. Because everyone was someone's child one day, and they had promise and hope. And somewhere along the line, something happened, whether it was drugs or alcohol or PTSD, or whatever may have happened. And so we're finding people that are veterans, and so we connect them to Veteran Affairs, or they were on drugs, and we've got them help with substance abuse. We've actually been able to help people get off the streets and into housing. And our police department, that's the role that we played. And the mayor's office do have an office of April Calvin. Be a good person to have on the show one day, but she is working with I'm Head, and that's dealing with the unhoused outreach. And so we're partnering together. It's just so much going on and so many just trying to help them. And some don't want to be helped.
Right. Some of them are
there.
chronic and some of them are acute. Like there'll be families that maybe she left her husband and she has her 2 kids and they're living in the car. And then we have those who are chronic, and those are people who they don't want to live anywhere. You can offer them housing all day long, they don't want it. So we dealt with it all, Ernie. But one of the things that I appreciate Chief Drake on this is dealing with it from not an issue of just arrest them, hold them, and then let them go. That's not the issue. But the problem we got, Ernie, is the city has never had an unhoused policy and to deal with the homelessness. And so then you got the police force having to come up with their own ideas. And the policy has been, and I'll be quiet because you're looking at me, the policy of the city was, it's a private issue. Let all the private companies and organizations deal with it. No, this is a city issue. This is a state issue. And the state and the city should have a budget to deal with the unhoused, to work with the police, to work with our hospital. We got a public safety hospital right now, General Hospital, what I love, does not have behavioral science to deal with when somebody comes in the emergency room and they're on drugs. We don't have any of those programs to help deal with that.
You know, the sheriff's department did start the behavioral care center, and I think they're trying to one leg and trying to help this. But you're right; it's a community problem, and oftentimes a lot of that falls in the hands of the police. And but I've tried to make sure that we're compassionate, that we have empathy, and that we want to help people. And it's really helped a lot. And when we've seen people in other cities having problems with members of the unhoused community, we weren't having them. We weren't having the issues. We're able to help people. We're able to go into encampments and say, hey, we want to find a solution for you. And if you think about it, you know, a lot of people have promise, and maybe they went off to serve the military and they came back with PTSD and they're not in their right frame of mind. They don't have their medication. Sometimes that's all it is getting them on the proper medication and the proper help. And I always believe as long as you show people that you care and give them some type of hope, there's always a chance. So.
You're listening and viewing Let's Talk Live. We're live on our Let's Talk page and on YouTube at 92Q Nashville. In fact, you can type in your question at 615-737-9292. Our guest, Metro Police Chief John Drake, and he's tough on crime. Speaking of crime, we understand that violent crime went down. What contributed to that drop?
So we've had a precision police focus, and violent crime went down 1.7%. Robberies went down. Aggravated assaults. The only crimes that were up were larcenies and motor vehicle theft. And so we took an approach where do no harm approach. We identify the people that are committing the harm, and we do something with them. And then we try to find out, is there a retaliatory factor? Is it a gang member? And are they going to try to retaliate? What is their social network? So we've identified the social network of people. We can show you a graph of a person and all the people that they're connected to, and so then we're able to have conversations or even more with people to try to keep the violent cycle from continuing, and that's been very, very good. And then we partner with Sheila Calloway and others to try and hold people accountable. That's still our nemesis.
Absolutely.
People are committing crimes such as homicide, and a year later, they're committing another crime, and you're like, say that name again? You know, I'm getting an update. How's this person committing a crime? And we have to fix that.
You can type in your question or call 615-737-9292. We have Joseph on line 1. What a question for you, Chief. Thanks for listening and watching. Joseph, go right ahead.
Yeah, since you was talking about the housing, and I wanted to ask Drake, even with the police and Sheriff Hall, when you arrest a person for you keep them for a year or something, it makes it real hard for a person, if he has a record, anything, to even get housing. A lot of times, I don't think people are realizing that people are being discriminated for housing. So, our city it's not even a city, but around the country, they have to watch that, because if you make a person go into jail for a year, even prison, and then you expect them to get a place to stay, and then they're released, who you think they're going back to? Where you think they're going back to? They got to go back to their mom. They, even lose all their possessions and have to start over. This is what makes it hard on people, trying to get housing, which needs to be discussed.
Hey, Joseph, I want to say thank you for saying that, and I don't know how many police chiefs will say this, but I am in 100% agreement with you. I watched a young man in my own family deal with the exact same thing, and so when you get in trouble, you get arrested, and you pay your debt to society, and then you get out, you're hoping
Yeah.
that life is going to be good. You're going to get a job. It's hard. They close doors because, hey, you're a convicted felon. You're looking for a place to live. No, you're a convicted felon. So now what do? You can't get a good job. You're a convicted felon, so you can't get housing. And then to top it all off, they take you right away to vote. And then you don't feel like a person. You feel like, what are you? And you spiral back down into these holes. And I think when people have paid their debt to society, that we should try to eliminate these barriers to success. And that's what's happening is they keep being punished over and over and over. And I'm passionate about that.
Metro Police Chief John Drake, our guest. Brother Maynard.
Oh, well, what I just heard him say, this is what it sounds like to me, that in 2028, we got a mayor in New York who's a former police officer. And I'm not sure, Drake, you may sound like Mayor Drake to me. That sounds kind of good right there. Mayor Drake, Congressman Drake. I mean, what are your thoughts, Congressman? Mayor, I mean, I'm talking about not now because you got a boss. I'm not saying you're running against him, but sometime he's going to get term limited. I told you I'm getting in trouble. See, they kicking me out. They about to escort me. They looking to escort me out right now. No. But it's Congressman
Any
Drake.
inspirations?
Any inspirations?
Well, right now it's not. My total goal is to be a good police chief, and I'm hoping we could make a difference in this city. At some point, I may have political aspirations. I don't know for mayor, and maybe other things. Congress is really kind of good to look at, or maybe some other avenues. But right now, I just want to be a good chief, and I want to do good for the Connell administration, and we'll see. We'll see on the political spectrum.
Right.
He's already a politician. You saw that right there. He's already a politician. He gave the political answer on that one. He's good.
You can type in your question or call 615-737-9292. Metro Police Chief John Drake is our guest. We're live on Let's Talk page, and we're also live, and you can view us on YouTube. Go to 92Q Nashville for your questions, your comments to the chief. Type it in.
I've got a question for you regarding the Fraternal Order of Police and the Black Police Officer Association. How not only that do you have to deal with the rank and file, you have to deal with all the administration, you got to deal with the politics, you got to deal with Metro Council, the DA, the mayor, and all that. Then you also have to deal with your unions and your organization. How has that been for you?
It has been so far good. I try to make sure I have a rapport with both, and I've tried to eliminate issues, and they haven't had a lot of issues that really was something that I could fix. And the ones that they bring up, if it's legitimate, I've dealt with it. We're the Black Peace Officers Association haven't had a lot of issues because we've promoted, diversity within the department. The FOP has seen that we value the employees, and that's something I wanted to make sure that I did. And I remember years ago having a scare with cancer and having a sergeant call me, and they were more concerned about people being able to take vacation because my name was on the calendar and not me. And and so I try to make sure they're valued. And so right now it's, we don't agree on a lot of things. I mean, there's some things we just disagree on, but the relationship has been good. And I believe in maintaining good relationships, whether they're, and sometimes you got to have an argument, but it makes you better in the end. So.
Metro Police Chief John Drake, and overall crime is going down. I understand murder, as you mentioned earlier, went down 7%.
Mm-hmm.
What's attributing to this drop in crime?
So we're just
more officers, Chief Drake.
It's a little bit of it all. We're trying to take an approach where we identify the people that are trigger pullers, people that are in social networks that are harming people and trying to prevent retaliation. Trying to hold people accountable who are habitual offenders. Some people you just can't help. Some people are going to harm people over and over and over, and we need to find a system that kind of holds them a little bit longer and get them some type of treatment when they come back out. I just had a communication with the juvenile system, people on the local and state level, on how can we deal with juveniles more effectively when they exit the system. And I'm thinking, maybe we can get mentors or some other people to kind of keep a pulse or finger on some of these kids that are committing crime. But we're taking a holistic approach, not just arrest, but how do we get in the family? We have the Police Activities League that is growing. We have the community engagement. We have the school resource officers who are doing more than just being police officers. They're like social workers. They're going in schools and, hey, what's your problem? How can I help? What can we help with? You need food, we get you food.
What about PAL?
PAL is coming up, and that was one of my biggest things I did as a police officer, and it left, and I brought it back, but it was the police athletic league. Now it's the
Right.
activities, and so I
Okay.
want to be able to reach kids who are inclined to art or music or other things, and get them in, because there's some kids that are gifted that do art that don't care a thing about sports, but then it gives us opportunity to interact with them, and then you find families. We're able to work with families, and that's a big one. And so a lot of things we're doing. It's just I'd say it's slowly making a difference.
Police Chief John Drake, Brother Mayor.
Yeah, I remember when I was on the council, there was a complaint about community policing, get them out of the cars and get them in the neighborhoods, and so I was like, okay, wait a minute, the way it's structured, you got to have them in their cars. Will you address that for those people who say community policing? Will you kind of address that, what it means, and kind of dealing with that kind of mythical thing that just because you're in a car does not mean you're not part of the community?
Yeah, you're definitely a part of the community, and you have to have cars to get from point A to point B. But community engagement and community policing is the same thing. You develop relationships, you're able to work together, you develop partnerships, you look at the problem as it's occurring, whether it's a problem-oriented policing. Hey, this problem is occurring here. Maybe this as a drug house, and maybe from this drug house is burglaries, and maybe from this is addictions and overdosing and all of those. And so you're able to work with the community to say, this is what's happening in my community, and I want to help you be a part of it. And we come in and help with the solutions. And again, arrest is not the sole mechanism. It's how do we work together? And that's been very effective. And in some areas that have been traditional problem areas, people are coming out and actually working. This is my neighborhood. I want to be a part of it being safe. I want to play a part, and that's what community policing is, working together.
I'm not saying this because you're in the studio, but I want to say I've lived in Detroit, Chicago, Cincinnati, and a portion of my time in Atlanta before I moved here. This is the best I've been treated as a black man by a police department. Because Chicago was rough. rough. Detroit was rough. No, I'm serious. The language they use when they pull you over. And I don't, and so maybe because, whatever, but Cincinnati was rough. Chicago was rough. Detroit
That's
was
because
rough.
the chief is recruiting good people.
Well,
especially
I'll say, Ernie, Doc, this is the best. I mean,
Hey.
when they pull you over, you can get cussed out and called the N-word and stuff like that. I know what it's like to be in an urban setting
Well,
and
takes
get
a lot
treated
to
with.
be a metro
well,
police
my
officer.
thing. I grew up in East Nashville and in inner core, and seen all that stuff, and I wanted to make sure officers were professional, and so we got away from the militaristic approach at the training academy and more of a theme of de-escalation. And so my goal is to say we have a professional academy. We learn how to be professional police officers, how to treat people with empathy and compassion. And I always talk about the experience and not customer satisfaction, but the experience. And just can't tolerate bad behavior. You can make a mistake, and I'll say this: none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes. But when you intentionally do something, I have a problem with that. And when you mistreat people because you wear this and I'm proud of this, then I have a problem with you. And I want our people to be professional, to treat people with respect. And when I talk to the training academies, each class I tell them that you don't take anyone's dignity or self-respect. And as long as people have that, they have hope and they have a chance to continue moving on. And we don't take that.
Let's go back to recruiting on that 30-30 plan. 30 females, 30% females.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing with that?
So we're doing good. So we're up about 15%. It continues to grow. As I said, we had a class graduate that was 40% female. When you see crime scenes now on TV or officers, you might see one or two or three females. They're just happening to be all over the place now. And in fact, when you look at recruitment, you have to have someone that you can relate to. So a woman or a minority. A kid sent me a school sent me a picture of a young man, and I won't say his name, but I have this picture up my hallway. I'd love for you to see it one day. But he's a 6-year-old kid who said he wants to be the chief of police one day
Oh, all
because
right.
of me, a young African American kid. And so we're making a difference. And then I went to go speak at a school, and we had Hispanic and white and black wanting to be police officers. And so just try to make that connection and show people. So they have to see, because if I want to talk to someone that's a police officer, I want to make sure they look, hey, how do they treat you?
Right.
You know,
Right.
give me the 411, the real thing, the real story.
Yes, sir. Metro Police Chief John Drake, we're live on the Let's Talk page and on YouTube. Go to 92Q Nashville, and you can post your question or you can type it in, or you can also call 615-737-9292. Brother Jerry.
Ernie and I have talked about this over to amnesia. We could not believe that Governor Lee and the State House and State Senate did not do anything after the Covenant killings. Do they listen to you? Will they? I mean, they talk about being law and order. They talk about supporting the blue and all that stuff. And your officers were courageous and they were heroes. Courageous and heroes. But that didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
Do they listen to you and other chiefs?
You know, that's a difficult
They did
question.
nothing.
Because I think they listen to us. It's just what are they going to do about it, and that's where we're at with that. When you look at someone that's mentally ill and they're still able to get weapons and still able to harm people, and we're still not really addressing that, and we're still not putting alerts of some type in to try to prevent that, that's problematic for me. And I hope they come up with something. I've voiced my opinion to everyone I can. We need to address that. And until we do, we're going to continue to see these types of problems. Mental illness and guns don't have a place in society, and the legislature, they have to do something about it.
Let's go back to recruiting before you leave, Chief. Again, you must be at least 18, 21 years old.
So you must be 21 years of age,
Right.
And with a degree or GED now, either one, and then 5 years of continual employment. You can have college, but it's not mandatory anymore. It'd be ideal to have if you do, but we just want to make sure we bring good people in. As long as you don't have a criminal record,
Right.
We'll train you to be good police officers.
Nashville's growing. You need the personnel.
We need them.
And you need new precincts.
We need that too. We need more cars. We need all of that. So
All right. Well, you know you have an open invitation to always join us, sir.
look forward to coming back.
All right. Now,
Always a pleasure.
you mentioned you played football.
I did.
All right. Who you like in the Super Bowl? Because we know.
I'm going to say this. So Patrick Mahomes has won a couple, so I'd like to see Lamar Jackson win today. And then I'd love to see Detroit beat San Francisco, although a college teammate of mine played for the 49ers.
So you're
I
hoping
picked
Baltimore and
The
Detroit.
Ravens win it all.
Okay. I'm taking the Pistons.
Hey, you know what I'm excited about? You talking about recruitment? Drake for president. What you talking about?
There you go.
Drake for president 2028.
Speaking of presidents, join us
right.
on our next show. We'll be talking to the president of Fisk University as we approach Black History Month, getting you ready to celebrate art, culture, education. The new president, Arsenio Clark, will be our guest on Let's Talk. Remember, we're live on Let's Talk on the Let's Talk page and on YouTube. Go to YouTube, 92Q Nashville. Thank you so much for joining us. And as always, remember to respect your father and your mother, love your brother, and teach your sister how to be a lady. Go Detroit.
Thank you, Ernie. Thank you, Jerry. It's been a real honor being on here as always. You guys are amazing. And thank you, Nashville, for entrusting me to be the chief of police and trying to make our community safer and better. So thank you.
All right. Until we talk again, it's been our pleasure.
You've been listening to Let's Talk with your host, Ernie Allen. The views and opinions expressed on Let's Talk do not necessarily represent the position of this radio station or management on the subject matter. Let's Talk is a presentation of the News and Public Affairs Department of 92Q. Check out this and previous Let's Talk shows online at 92